Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Double Game Week 25 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zoph, and I'm joined by my co hosts, Late Riser and Pras. It's been a while, Pras. How was sunny Dubai?
Man, it's been a long time. Before this, I was like setting up everything. I was like, where's my mic? Where is everything? It's been what, over 2 weeks since spotting, and yeah, feels a very long time. Dubai was very good. I was also out for work last week, so it's been a lot of travel, hectic, but good. Nothing better than getting shafted by Wood, of course, by his hat trick, but otherwise all good.
Well, what was it like getting that announcement like while you're on vacation and all that stuff to digest all that news so fast?
Honestly, it was so like more than anything, I was just disappointed. Assistant manager is such a beautiful chip, to plan. Like I will do this transfer and then this transfer, this will affect my this move, and they just drop it. And I was of the mindset when I went on Thursday that I'm not going to play it. Even if the Spurs one is announced, like Spurs are going to lose to Liverpool, who cares? Then the Liverpool one is announced, and my face just like, oh my God, what is this? Like, what is happening? I've used all four of my transfers, and now I have to play the assistant manager chip. So it was not very nice, but thanks to you guys, you did an excellent pod, which I was listening to. I think I told you right on the balcony at 2 times speed, and then LR messaged me, listen to this section, 20 minutes to 24 minutes. We talk about what advice we give you. So I was like, that was very, very useful. So thank you to you two for doing that.
Pleasure. What have you been up to, Ella? AM Moyes gone well so far?
Yeah, man, going good. I mean, that first minute, it was the first time I think I've seen a goalkeeper return live. Like I'm just chilling, just put on the game, and within like 30 seconds, I'm like, wait, was that a Pickford? It is this better, and then it's all nice. So
A
it
keeper
was
he
a
took
bit
a
of
hit for.
a keeper I took a hit for. So it was a bit of good banter, and it's nice to watch some points rolling in live. So yeah, some good FPL feelings after a while. Much appreciated.
Yep. It feels like it feels weird asking how your scores or game weeks went, right? It feels like so ages ago. Now the game is tomorrow. I'm not a fan of these truncated game weeks, but at least we have next deadline is pretty close. Friday, then there's a lot to unpack ahead of that. Shall we jump right in?
Sure, man.
Let's go.
As always, all the data that you see on this podcast, and there's some nice numbers and charts on here, especially discussing the Bournemouth mids as well as Aston Villa picks. Everything is from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Shout out to Neil, Tom, and the boys. They've been, I mean, the content, especially in the last 10 days, in terms of the members' articles, has been outstanding. Literally outstanding. Like the big numbers piece, etc., that they got out, so good, so good. So it's really worth its weight in gold, in my opinion, in all our opinions. So if you do want to become a member, click on the link in the description below.
And as you guys know, NordVPN has been a long-term partner of the FPL Wire. If you're bored of the streaming libraries in your country, with NordVPN, you can access content outside your region, get access to a wider library on your favorite streaming services, and if you're traveling outside your country, you can access your home library content. Every purchase of the 2-year NordVPN plan using the link nordvpn.com/the FPL Wire will receive an additional 4 bonus months on top. TV show recommendations, guys. Pras, what were you watching on vacation?
Not much, man. Just catching up on things that are coming now. Basically, the things that are drip fed. So, Severance, nothing much. It was a boys trip, man. There was no TV watching.
Okay. A lot of other things were being watched back then. What about you, Ella?
Thanks to your recommendation, it's the first time in a long time I started season 2 of a show before season 1, which is Australia Traitors season 2. I'm 2 episodes in, and I can't wait to watch it after we're done with the podcast. It's a lot of fun, and it's so bingeable. But like we literally have to control ourselves, otherwise you go late into the night in terms of watching that. So yeah, good recommendation, appreciated, Zoph.
Yep. I watched Patal Lok season 1 and 2. That was really good.
Oh, season 1 is old. That was
But I
incredible.
hadn't actually seen it. I'd seen 2, 3, so I decided I didn't remember it since it was so long ago. Started it all the way, and that's when you get a real feel. I actually like season 2 more than 1. The whole
We are
setting in
on
the hills.
episode 3 of season 2. So just started.
Same Pras,
It's really
exactly
amazing the
there.
transformation. The
Yeah.
actor went from Maharaj and then back to this. Incredible job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting back
yep.
to Nord. It also has an efficient anti-malware and anti-spyware protection tool. It highlights any attack and deletes it before it makes a mess of your computer. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/the FPL Wire. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Sign up using the link in the description below. Right. So we've had a lot of information come in now since we last spotted. We've had the Carabao Cup games, of course. We've had the FA Cup games. So let's talk us through it, Pras. What do we now know and what do we need to know still to firm up our chip strategies?
Well, what we know is Game Week 29 we know quite well. The fact that there will be 2 blanks. Now, people will say there's a small chance Newcastle doesn't blank. Let's assume they're blanking, right? I mean, there's a small chance they don't reach the quarterfinal and that happens during the quarterfinal. But let's keep it simple. There's very, very, very likely 99.9% going to be 2 blanks in Game Week 29, which are basically because of Newcastle and Liverpool reaching the Carabao Cup final. So Newcastle were originally going to play Crystal Palace. So as a result, Newcastle and Crystal Palace will blank, and Liverpool were originally going to play Aston Villa, and we definitely know blank because they're actually playing next game week. So I think the one thing that caught everybody off guard is the Premier League being very proactive, like over proactive with the reschedule. Like, people thought, okay, it's only a problem for Spurs, that Spurs could reach all the finals and then it's a problem. But they were proactive with Arsenal even. Like the Arsenal double didn't happen next week because Arsenal lost. Had they won, they would have also had a double. So what we know between now and Game Week 29 is there's going to be this Villa double, which is obviously next week, Liverpool Villa, and the corresponding blank in Game Week 29. But because of the FA Cup, now we have a lot more clarity on the future as well. Like 2-3 upsets. I mean, if you want to call Spurs going out as an upset, but they did lose to Villa, but then Chelsea going out, Liverpool going out. That's huge. That's going to be so big for chip strategy later. And as a reminder, what happens is that people who make the semi-final of the FA Cup will blank in Game Week 34. So this is what you see in front of you, is basically the 5th round draw. After the 5th round draw, there's a quarter-final, which is basically going to happen in between Game Week 29 and 30. Only then, the teams that win will then blank in 34. So until Game Week 30, you have no idea.
Lego Mane chart, so it's easier for everybody to visualize.
This one, exactly. So you can see here, basically the FA Cup quarterfinal, it's after the Game Week 29 international break. So it's only after this week when you will have like we had this week, you will have a guarantee of who is blanking in Game Week 34. The current thinking is that everyone who will blank in Game Week 34, their game should go into Game Week 33. So the double Game Week 33 is going to be massive. The only one exception to that is Newcastle, because as you know, Liverpool's game, the Aston Villa game from 29 moved to 25, but the Newcastle game has not been moved because they were chilled about it. So the Newcastle Crystal Palace game should move to 33, and then Newcastle should have another double in 36. So if I have to summarize this very simply, it's the teams that reach the semi-final of the FA Cup, they will blank in Game Week 34. Most of their games will come to Game Week 33. So the big double is going to be Game Week 33. So then 34 is going to be a blank, and then 36 could be a double as well. And there's a very small chance 37 is a blank because that's when the FA Cup final is. But for the moment, I think
FA
the new
Cup,
news.
Plus the European final.
Yeah, but it's also the FA Cup final.
Is it?
So
okay.
The FA Cup final happens on the same week. So you look here, Game Week 37, this grey bar at the bottom, the grey box. Okay. So it's also the FA Cup final.
Okay, so having it within the season again. I heard they're going to have it at the end, but clearly not.
Correct. So there is a chance that the teams who reach the FA Cup final, their games are moved to Game Week 36. So this is basically the permutations. Now let's look at teams. Let's think about teams. Arsenal, unlikely to have a double game week for the rest of the season unless Crystal Palace reach the semi-final of the FA Cup. Because if Crystal Palace reach the semi-final of the FA Cup, Arsenal will have a double in 36. Liverpool, unlikely to have a double game week for the rest of the season. Chelsea, unlikely to have a double game week for the rest of the season. Why I say unlikely, not 100%, is because their opponents can still reach far, and then they could still have if they reach the final, then Liverpool could have a blank in 37 and double in 36. But again, we're keeping it simple here. For detailed chip strategy, you can listen to Planet FPL James. But the big teams, Newcastle should have 2 doubles if they make the semi-final of the FA Cup. So they'll have a double in 33, they'll have a double in 36. In fact, that is very likely to happen because Newcastle should reach the semi-finals. Like they have an easy draw for the 5th round, and the quarterfinal, whoever they have, you'd back them unless it's a Man City. So you will have a double for Newcastle. Man City could have a double as well if they reach the semi-final. They're heavy favorites now in the FA Cup. So quite likely that double will be 33, but they could even have a double in 36. And Man United, Bournemouth could also have a double in 33 because they are both in the FA Cup. They both play each other in 33. So one of them should make the semi-final. So this is basically the summary. What do you guys think?
Just one question I had, Pras. What makes it possible for Crystal Palace to not have a blank in Gameweek 29, just so that we're all aware?
What needs to happen is both need to lose in the FA Cup games in the 5th round, which are easy games. Both Newcastle and Crystal Palace need to lose. And so they will basically, the Premier League will say, this quarterfinal weekend, which is happening after the international break, you see after Game Week 29, they can put it there because they're both not in the FA Cup anymore. And so therefore, it still falls within Game Week 29. But given their opponents, one of them should definitely go through. So I would call it 0 probability, like close to 0.
Very unlikely because they would have rescheduled it early if they wanted to be so proactive. Neither team are in Europe, so they can even chuck it in any other free midweek they have later.
Absolutely.
Not so much of a concern. But let's talk about our impact now in terms of larger chip strategy, Pras. Now, I know obviously this is dependent on how you're set up for Game Week 29. If you have like 7 to 8 blankers, load of Newcastle, Liverpool, Palace, then you could consider using the free hit in 29. But on the face of it, and this is a similar strategy that Ben also tweeted, it's looking like we wildcard in Game Week 31. Why not Game Week 30 is because we might not have the information about the blanks yet, because it's going to be on the weekend in the midweek. We may not have the information about which team is going to play when, right? That's my
Game Week 30 is a midweek game week.
Midweek.
So you want basically, you never know. Announcement could come on Wednesday or Tuesday. So it's unlike, you'll be risking it that you get all the information by 30.
Right. So let's say we wildcard by around 31 or 32. Let's say you bench boost in 33 because that's looking like the larger double now. Then you free hit in 34, and then like if you have your triple captaincy left, you play it in 36.
This is going to be the missionary chip strategy, the plain vanilla chip strategy. Basically, but one thing that has happened because Liverpool are out and Chelsea are out, look at Game Week 34. Who does Liverpool play in Game Week 34? Spurs at home, lovely fixture. Who does Chelsea play? Everton. So idea is that these guys, you don't have to, it's not that necessary that you have to use a free hit in Game Week 34. So people who have been actually going for a free hit 29 strategy, let's say they have Mateta, they have Isak, they have Gordon, they have Munoz, they have Hall, and they just decide, look, I'm going to load up on Villa and Liverpool and just free hit in 29. It has also benefited them because now the free hit is actually weaker in general, because 34 you can still play easily. You can keep your Salahs, you can keep your other guys, because again, look at Salah's fixture in Game Week 33. Even though it's a double, he plays Leicester. So you can just hold Salah through 33 and 34, so you don't need to free hit in 34 necessarily. So I think the upside of the free hit has come down a little bit because of all these upsets. So if you are already on a 29 free hit, go for it. It should be an okay thing for you to navigate 33, 34. And if you're not, and I think this is going to be the more popular strategy, people will just say, look, in front of me right now, I can see Game Week 29 is the first hurdle. If I can cross this hurdle with a hit or maybe not even a hit and my team looks decent, I'll just do that. I'll wildcard in 30, 31, like you said, Zoph, and then I'll deal with the rest later. I think the one thing that has been nailed to a large extent is that bench boost is going to be Game Week 33, because that is going to be the massive double. And so that's what people need to think about. If they're free hitting in 29, can they still bench boost in 33, or do they need to wildcard before anyway? If they're wildcarding before anyway, can they save the free hit for late? Those are the things you need to think about.
Is it possible to one second, I just want to clarify something. Let's say we try to get the bench boost out of the way without the wildcard. I always like to do that because then you can carry a thinner bench. For example, let's say, now, like you said, I don't want to sell, let's say, somebody like a Palmer on 32, he has Ipswich, 34, he has Everton, but 33, he has Fulham away. Free hit him out for that week, for example. Something like that, you think that could be feasible? Maybe I look to bench boost somewhere in 30, 31.
Absolutely. The first thing that I said once Liverpool and these guys were out is now free hit in a double game week is on. Like you could actually think about a strategy where you free hit in 33 or even 36. Because remember, right now people are guessing a lot of it falls in 33. Some could go still to 36. Like it's not impossible. So you could sit in 31 and basically plan it all out. And I don't rule it out. Yeah, some people could look at a double game week free hit this year. Like it's just how the cards have fallen.
Go ahead, Ella.
Yeah, and exactly the point I was going to make in terms of, because of how, remember, free hit turned out for us last year's off in a double game week. We understand that the free hit is a much more powerful chip than triple captaincy. So I'm okay, like in terms of prioritizing the doubles, I will probably look at free hit and bench boost as the chips I want to maximize. And there's always going to be a free shot of a week where you can use the triple captaincy chip as well. Obviously, we'll know about this once the cards fall after Game Week 31. One question I had for you, Pras, is when will we get information about Game Week 36?
it's going to be inferred from the information we get from Gameweek 33. So, but it will not be perfect information. So if you're wildcarding in 30, 31, you will basically know the picture for 33 and 34. But for 36, 37, there's still a small chance that, Brighton make the FA Cup final, right? If Brighton make the FA Cup final, who do Brighton meet is Liverpool in the FA Cup final. So maybe Liverpool get a rogue double in Game Week 36 that you didn't plan for. So it is possible. Like these things are slightly possible, but I would say you would have 100% clarity of 33, 34 and about 90% clarity of 36, 37.
All right, cool.
So I think in terms of AM strategy, let's just talk about alternate windows for the assistant manager also, Pras. If you're not using it for this window, what are the other times to use it potentially?
Just pause before that. Because we'll move into your slide after that, because it's a great transmission to that slide. Just from a learning point of view and what you do from now point of view, if you have already used your assistant manager chip or your triple captaincy chip, the decision you need to make right now is look at your team and look at how far you are from having 10 players or 11 players in Game Week 29 and decide whether you're going to free hit in 29 or not. Like, you don't need to think too much about what happens in 31, 32. You will have the advantage of a wild card, which will help you through that. So at the moment, the decision you need to make is decide whether you're free hitting or not in 29. And like Pras said, it's fine if you are. If you're heavy on Newcastle, Crystal Palace, it's fine if you are free hitting in 29 because there's Manchester City and Man United players to load up on. And it'll be having its upside anyway, because there's not going to be a future upside week outside of the doubles in the future to use the free hit chip.
But would it be quote unquote optimal to use a free hit in 29? I don't think so. I think as far as possible, it is team specific, but in terms of trying to build towards that, in terms of a direction, because people have transfers, right? And there's going to be opportunity cost for the transfers in terms of using it in your assistant manager for the next 2 weeks, etc. Things like that. So people can decide now, once, let's say now if you're using the transfers on your managers the next 2 weeks, it becomes more likely you free hit in 29. So you sort of need to decide that direction, I think, now. And I think in terms of like to play it in a pure optimal way, again, quote unquote, I think you should try to save the free hit in 29. That's where I am.
It's because of the bench boost, which is the important factor as well, right? Because if you free hit in 29, when we are able to still bench boost in 33, because free hit, really the benefit is you're saving your wildcard. So if you're free hitting in 29 and saving your wildcard, then are you able to bench boost in 33 or not? That is going to be the key question. 33, 34 is going to be a little bit of a good window.
All right. I think you're breaking up a little bit there, Pras. I think it should be better now. Can you just...
Okay.
Should be okay now. So why I was asking about 36 is that was one of the windows I was talking to some other people who they were looking to use the AM. They also have the triple captaincy in hand. So that might become a decision because 36 we expect it to be a smaller double. Much smaller than 33, right? So that's when again we look to use the captaincy. Let's say you don't want to use the AM, then I guess the other AM windows would have to be in a single. You are not going to use it, I think, around 33, I think. Then I guess you look to use your triple captaincy in a single week prior. That's where we are. So let's we talk
I
now.
do think, people that haven't used the AM chip, they'll see how the cards fall after Game Week 31. And then for their team, they will need to decide what is the better window for the bench boost and what is the better window for the AM based on the table. So they will have to make that decision after 31, 32, when we have that piece of information. Because there could be a case where a team with good cheap assets, like Crystal Palace, for example, has a double in 36. We will have that information and then you can take that subjective call then in terms of keeping it open. I think that's what I'll say.
So the only issue with early AM is you will have to wildcard in 30, not 31. So you don't have that flexibility because the AM you need to leave the window of 31, 32, 33 open. So that's the first thing people with AM you need to think about. You have to wildcard in 30 or you wildcard later. And then of course there is the really lucrative 36, 37, 38 window, which is still open.
Pras is saying that because in 34 teams will blank. So if you are using your AM chip in 31, 32, 33, you have the option of using the free hit chip in 34. If not, you have to make sure you have enough players in 34 while you're using the AM chip as well. So just keep that in mind.
Cool. Let's start talking strategy now for the guys who have already used the chip. First up, let's talk about the guys.
Sorry, one last point, Zoph, before you go here, just long term. Because it's been not bothering me, but I'm like thinking about it and it's a scary thought. If you look at Chelsea and Liverpool's fixtures later in the season, they are terrible. right? So they're quite bad. And of course, people will say Palmer can do well in any game, Salah can do well in any game. Then you look at Man City's fixtures, and they're beautiful, like throughout. They're going to get a double. If you're free hitting in 34, the one good fixture each of Palmer and Salah have, you will actually capture it. Because in 33 they have good fixture, but it's also a double, right? So you can still, instead of Salah, you can go for
That's
Foden.
exactly what my thinking was, to get the BB out of the way. Maybe that does help in 34 as well. You're right.
So thinking is that you could see people go without Salah and Palmer for last 6-8 game weeks and basically have triple City, which right now seems crazy. At the beginning of the season, it felt fine because everybody was on that. So almost like a mirror of the beginning of the season, where you may end up seeing people without Salah and Palmer.
Liverpool might
and
clinch
have
the
Haaland.
league by then. You
Yeah.
never know the way the
They
gap
could be in
they have.
Champions
They
League.
could be champions by let's say game week 34, 35, in which case it becomes a bit less risky to sell Salah.
And with Salah, it's the lead up to 33 as well. Like Liverpool 30 have Everton at home, then they've got Fulham away, then they've got West Ham at home, then they've got Leicester away. It's going to be a big decision because the 30 to 33 for Mo Salah is pretty good if you ask me. It's genuinely really, really good. So, UCL, etc. decisions. Why Pras is mentioning is that because City will have a double. And City's assets don't come cheap. So if you want to have City assets, you will have to make compromises. So this is where a little give and take will come. That's actually one of the disadvantages of not having to use AM, because you need to keep $1 million or so on the side. And to build a bench boost team on a wildcard, you need the money in your squad upfront on the pitch, So that's also something to keep in mind, because you'll need to save money for AM if you're going the AM route later.
I think TLDR version, I think this is a good time to use the EM. We'll talk about that specifics now in the next section. First up, let's talk about the guys who have already used the AM chip now in 24, and you've either gone most likely Moyes or Slot. Now, if you have Slot, you're likely sticking now. But you're on Moyes now, you have two options. You could either stick it on Emery, that wouldn't require a free transfer. Otherwise, if you want to go Slot, you obviously have to sell one of your existing Liverpool players. LR, now you went on Moyes, Pras and I are both on Slot, so we are pretty much obviously going to stick. What is your thinking right now?
At the moment, I think I'll take a chance on Emery, but it all depends on what we hear from Klopp, from Slot, Trent. Because the thing that is on my mind is, if I do want Slot, Trent's fixtures from a defensive point of view aren't easy. He's got Wolves and Aston Villa, then he's got City away, then he's got Newcastle. So I'm okay selling Trent. Then he's obviously got a plum game against Southampton at home. Then he's got a blank in 29. So there's only one plum fixture for Trent, which is game week 28 against Southampton at home. So the thought is, then do I sell a Trent to a Kirkes or a Munoz, depending on which one you don't have, to fund Slot? So that's an option that I'm thinking about. That's at 70-75%. I'm likely to go for Emery at the moment, but that is one option that I'm heavily considering, where I downgrade Trent because I don't think I'm okay not playing him against City and Newcastle, where a clean sheet will be tough to get by. So those are the thoughts in my head at the moment.
We have a small update from Spy on Cop. He just tweeted that Trent did partial training yesterday. He expects him to do full training today and be on the bench now against Everton, which bodes well, I think, for him to start against Wolves. So that adds now Wolves and Southampton, they're potentially two good fixtures. We'll talk about Liverpool's schedule in terms of rotation. I think there might be some coming there, but in terms of specifics, we have in terms of the pros and cons over here. The problem with Emery now, due to the defensive injuries, it's become a little less appealing, right? In general, that fixture against Liverpool.
It's that, but their performance against Spurs, not Spurs, Leicester beat Spurs. And they're a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, right? The Spurs team. They can show up against anyone. I do think Emery's team in general has a big game performance in him. And it's, while defensively they look like they're devoid of resources, in attack, I liked what I saw of Marlon. I liked what I saw of Asensio and Rashford's cameo. He's got these sort of game-changing players in the front that are capable of pulling off a result. And Emery is known to be a tactically good player. So it is like, if you're backing one of the middling managers to pull off a result against Slot, Emery would be in your top three, along with Silva and Nuno, for somebody to take a shot on, right? So I wouldn't mind it. It's always going to be a non-favorite versus favorite that you're going to back in this situation. So it's always going to require some courage But I don't mind it. I don't think it's a bad shot to take, especially because like how Everton had Leicester at home, Aston Villa have the Ipswich home game to fall back on.
And what's the plan for the week after? Emery has Chelsea at home. Will you stick or do you plan to twist?
To be decided. So I'm in a situation where I've got 2 Brentford players, 1 Bournemouth player. So my team for the foreseeable is fairly in a good place. So I can afford to spend transfers on managers. That's the thinking why I'm aggressive with my manager transfers. So because I've got transfers to spend on managers, it's a very like I'll see how I feel come game week 26, 27 given form and performance. I haven't decided.
There's a scenario that you could have a table bonus fixture the week after, that is in 26 of Newcastle versus Forest. Now, if Newcastle lose, I think it requires some other results to fall in a certain way. I don't know how. Don't remember.
Villa
I
have
think
to win.
Bournemouth have to win. Liverpool, I
Villa
think
have to win
lose.
Liverpool.
We'll have to win both games, right?
Yeah.
So you might get that table bonus next week with Forest away to Newcastle. That's not bad.
I'm hoping for the triple backing against Mr. Slot. I'm just hoping I can use the chip on a certain
and you're
other
ensuring
boiled manager.
against that by owning the 3 Liverpool players. So there is damage.
There is damage. I'm owning the 3 players. So that is also in the case. So that's where I'm hoping to go in 26. Pep is what I'm fancying.
Yep, and that's what we've got the pros over here. Ultimately, the 3rd Liverpool pick, whoever it is, it could potentially match Slot. That's what you're effectively hoping for. You have the table bonus. And the thing with Villa, right, where do you really invest? We'll talk about Watkins and Rodgers in a little bit, but in terms of defense, absolute no-goes. So there's not really a third asset you're going to invest in over there. So Emery does get you that possible entry. But again, like you mentioned, it all depends on the transfers thing also. I think if you get in Slot now, you might potentially stick at City away.
Yeah. So it depends on team health, right? It depends how far away are you from your team. Like we discussed with the chip strategy, how far away are you from having 10 players or 11 players in Game Week 29 if you're not playing the free hit in 29. It's all interconnected. So you need to look at team health. You need to look at number of transfers. You need to look at number of players you're getting in 29, whether you're using the chip strategy or not in 29, free hit. All of these things connected will decide whether you want to go for Slot or not.
Pras, where are you leading on this?
I think the Moyes guys need to switch, man. Like they need to switch to Emery. Like it's a no-brainer. So I'm on.
Why not Slot?
Because you'll have to sell a Liverpool player. So unless they're injured, and by the way, if Trent is out, I would switch as well. Like I agree with Ella. But I think the priority to get this week is to get your 3rd Liverpool if they're injured. So if it's a case of, let's say, if Trent is out, I think even people with Trent should be looking to get a Liverpool before anybody else. So in other people's cases, they can go for a Slot. We could go for a Van Dijk or we can go for a Gakpo. Like I think that should be priority number 1. Get your 3 Liverpool because Southampton at home is still coming. Forget about the blank. They're the best team right now, beating everybody. That Bournemouth 2-0 win is so like, okay, the result was flattering, but it just shows how above everybody else they are, right? So you have to get your 3rd Liverpool, right? If there is uncertainty on Trent, leave him, fine. Moyes to Emery then makes sense, right? You don't need to be selling a Gakpo or anybody else. You just keep moving. Hope that Liverpool slip up and the game they slip up in is the one where you backed against them. And I think that's the way to go.
Let's talk about Liverpool's schedule in terms of just contextualizing this for our viewers, what they have now coming up over the next few weeks, right? Now, obviously, they have these back-to-back games. Against Everton is when they're playing on Wednesday, then Wolves, Villa, Man City and Newcastle. This is essentially 5 games in the space of 15 days. But what's interesting now is because they're out of the FA Cup, that FA Cup round 5 now is a free slot they have on that weekend. However, they will have the Champions League now either side of Southampton. But then again, that game week 29 is the blank. They're pretty much getting the international break a week early. So where does this rotation happen? Now, Trent also coming back from injury. Now, let's say we discuss he's probably going to be on the bench against Everton, which is now a good chance to start against Wolves. Now, will he start Villa and Man City and Newcastle after that? So that's essentially you're asking him to start 3-4 games in the space of 12 days. Could there be rotation there?
Probably, likely. But you're talking of holders now, not buyers.
Yes, now, I'm talking about, let's say now, even if Trent is fit for the weekend, but you do want to move on Slot, can you make a case to rationalize that?
It's difficult. Like, I know, talking of somebody who took a hit to take Gakpo out to buy Slot, but I was getting 2 doubles, right? So every time you're doing it, you're getting less of the pie. The idea of getting Slot...
I don't like Man City away next week. I think even if you do buy Slot, you will be tempted to move him on next week. Like, aren't you planning to move him on, Pras?
Definitely, 100%. I'm not taking on Pep away from home. I mean, even no matter what form they're in. there is table bonus to be got if Man City are there. I'll switch to Pep, as LR said. Or I'll switch to Eddie Howe, or if I want to play safe again, I can go to Arteta. I'm not keeping it on slot for sure next week.
So that's another thing. So using essentially taking a hit to sell the guy, get in like slot, for example, then again next week make another transfer to sell slot. It's a lot. It's a lot that's going on there.
I just want to mention that with slot, the advantages of that you mentioned, the stable multiplier, he's nailed. Like, that's not the factor with anybody else except for Slot and Mo Salah and Van Dijk. I think these three are comfortably the only three players that are absolutely nailed.
Alisson, of course.
And Alisson, yeah. Everybody else is going to be seeing some limited minutes. You're going to see 1 30-minute appearance, 20-minute appearance from whether that's Trent, whether that's Gakpo. That's just going to happen. So just need to prep yourself for that. So that's the one thing I wanted to mention.
So okay, is Gakpo sellable, LR, you think?
If Watkins was fit, and raring and you would be confident of his minutes, then I wouldn't mind a Gakpo to Watkins if that allowed a funding of a slot in your team structure. But that's going to be a rare situation of somebody who has such a team structure where he's upgrading Gakpo to Watkins in terms of money and still has money for slot as well.
Could be people are moving, let's say, Gordon to Kluivert. That raises a lot of money in that sense, or Gordon to a Rogers in a double move in that sense. But I want to again mention, since you did mention Watkins, let's talk about Villa's schedule also, and I think this is important now. Now for game week 25, Ipswich, obviously they have the free midweek, then Liverpool is a midweek after, then they play Chelsea and Palace. Now the FA Cup round 5 is right after that. You do expect him to rotate a little bit there because that's just before Europe. And then they have Brentford, which is sandwiched right between the European time. So in terms of now starts for Watkins, let's assume he's declared fit for the weekend. We saw how Emery at the start of the season, even when he's not fully fit, is prepared to throw Watkins in. Even if you get starts, right, the nature of a muscle injury is that obviously there's more risk of aggravating it, the more load you place on it. I think minutes will be managed over the next few weeks. And we saw already like Marlon can play up top, Rashford can play up top. Like, even if he declares him fit for Ipswich, I don't think he's necessarily going to start that. I think they could potentially have him on the bench. You have Marlon, Rashford, etc. start that. So you do have to keep that in mind, right? You're not getting a full 90 minutes nailed Watkins as we would last season. That's what kind of putting me off investment there, because again, I think Watkins for Isak would have been a template move. Otherwise, if we had a fully fit, fully firing Watkins.
Yeah. And the thing is, because they bought Marlon, Asensio and Rashford, they've got a squad capable enough of managing that workload. And the thing that was convincing was Marlon's performance in the cup game. Even before that in the cameo, he did well as forward. Made some intelligent runs. Emery cited that in his post-match press conference as well. So he's done well. So this is a little bit dodgy. But let's say if Emery gives us a very positive review about Watkins' fitness, he says he's over his fitness issues, then I'd be tempted.
Yep. Did you guys see that Marlon is not registered for Europe?
He's not. Yes. Poor guy.
He actually mentioned that he joined for the Champions League, and because they can only register 3 new signings, he couldn't make it.
Poor guy.
Tough luck, man.
Yeah. I do want to say that, while we're talking about Aston Villa's defensive injuries, they do have 2 fit centre-backs for the weekend. It's going to likely be Mings and Disasi playing as centre-back for Aston Villa. Disasi's back and he's cup-tied, if I'm not mistaken. So he'll play in the league. And Mings was training and has been training for about 7 to 8 days. So it's very likely that they will have 2 fit centre-backs.
Like Kamara did an okay job. Like there was no issue with Kamara playing
centre-back. Kamara's decent, but again, Disasi can't play against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, don't buy Disasi, man.
No, obviously, I'm just talking about in terms of the defensive prospects against Chelsea. Also in terms of result, right? You're looking at 26 again. Because I think you can hold Emery, man. Their home record is so good. Chelsea don't travel well. I'd be perfectly fine playing.
But there's no table bonus against Chelsea, man.
I know,
that's the issue.
Where are you going to move to where you get table bonus? I have some of the fixtures up here. Let's just have a look at that really quick. In terms of
I think you have to stick to 2 principles. Either pick a team playing a plum team, like an Arsenal, or you chase table bonus in 26. One of the two. And we don't know what the table bonus situation will be going to 26. It will depend on the results in 25. But this is why you should be prepared to take a...
Right. In terms of the bankers, you have Bournemouth against Wolves and probably Arsenal against West Ham is what I guess more slot owners are going for. Tottenham, Ipswich could be interesting if you have that. I think Ipswich and Tottenham, you need Tottenham to get a result this weekend, then you could potentially punt on Ipswich if you're going the table bonus route.
Yep. So again, it's a TBD to be decided. You'll see where you're going there. then.
Or Leicester. I saw people looking
Leicester
at Leicester.
playing Brentford. I don't think
Yeah.
you really want to back Leicester at any point.
His EV is very high, Ruud van Nistelrooy. I'm just looking at basically expected values, which is simply just your odds of winning times your whatever table bonus you would get versus your odds of drawing versus the table bonus you get. So his EV is actually very, very high. Him and Arteta are the highest as things stand. But as soon as Pep gets into a table bonus territory, his EV is going to shoot. Like he's going to be easily the highest.
Pras, did you see, just by the way, did you see the Everton Leicester highlights?
Yeah.
That game possibly should have been like 8-0. Like Leicester were that bad, genuinely that bad. Like that was one of the
To be
worst
clear, I will
perform-
not be going Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah. I do want to say though that there was a fair amount of like, for the result of the Everton and Moyes versus the Slot and performance against Bournemouth, like fair value would have been like Moyes probably getting 4 or 5 points more than Slot. Genuinely, Bournemouth hit the bar a few times, etc. That result could have easily been a draw. Like it was a swingy game that could have gone either way.
I mean, this is the problem with backing the premium manager, right? You're nervous in every game. Like, against Everton, I think the Liverpool managers are more nervous. Like for you, it's upside, right? Everton if they beat, you get 20 bloody points. If they beat Liverpool. If they draw, you've numbered Slot by 5 table bonus. So it's basically there is only one scenario, which is the likeliest scenario, of course, that Liverpool win, but you're nervous. So it's a fun chip from that point of view. Like mentally, you're not, you're still chasing even though you paid premium price.
Cool. So,
And it's again the people that are likely not gone Slot have 3 Liverpool.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
we have 3 Everton. So and it worked out really well actually in the first game.
Yeah. It was a fun experience. I'll say that. How much we've been shitting on the chip. The experience was not too bad. But that's because everybody got a positive result.
Yeah,
True.
it's coming. That there will definitely be some sort of swing, and there will be a lot.
Tomorrow night is going to be swingy one way or another. It has to be
still
swingy.
2 more weeks, I guess, of swinging.
Yeah.
Get through. But yeah, let's talk about some guys who use the triple captaincy now in game week 24 now, whether they should use the AM chip, on who they should use it, or potentially save it for later. Let's discuss the third thing first in terms of opportunities to use it later. We've already covered that, I think, in the previous section. I think all of us are in favor of using it now.
Not so sure. I mean, there's actually people who've used their triple captaincy. I have a really sexy chip strategy for them. They should free hit this week. They should free hit this week. Get triple Villa, triple Liverpool, triple Bournemouth, double Arsenal playing Leicester, and then basically you set up and you leave your assistant manager for 36, 37, 38. Of course, this is team dependent, right? What will you come up with after the free hit? What is your team? How is it looking like for 29? But if your team is looking nice, I think this is a beautiful free hit week.
But what impact would that have on the potential free hit, bench boost, wildcard, etc. later down the line?
You are basically going to navigate the 2 blanks without a free hit, which is doable. We talked about it.
Yeah.
Like it's not the end of the world if you kept Salah and Palmer through 33 double when they have okay fixtures, and then they play in 34 as well. So same applies to other picks from Liverpool, for example. So Arsenal, another example, which have a decent fixture in 33, could have a fixture in 34. There are ways to do it. But I'm just saying, like, there is an alternative for people who did it. I'm not sure if I agreed with them playing their triple captaincy, because I think assistant manager over 5 games was too good to pass away. But the outcome has been good. So, can't complain. Now you have to deal with what you have in front of you.
But why use a free hit now versus 34?
Just massive upside. Like a lot of people are going to avoid any Villa because they also blank in 29. People have 1 Bournemouth. Nobody has 3. People have sold their Arsenal picks. It's just an opportunity. Your team is going to, Arsenal is playing Leicester. Bournemouth, who are absolutely flying, are playing Southampton. And then you get 6 doublers. It's just an opportunity. Like you could gain a lot this week compared to a 34.
Yeah. It's just basically comes down to have a look at 36, 37, 38 fixtures again. And just compare that run for a team or two in terms of runs. A lot is going to change then versus whether you like diving into Emery or Slot right now, and then decide whether you want to use the assistant manager chip right now or later. Because I think 33 you want to save for the bench boost if possible, unless you find a good assistant manager opportunity. Like if a Crystal Palace plays against two oppositions that are obliging in the table bonus, then maybe you could get tempted into something like a Glasner, a strong team against tough opposition. Outside of that, you have to make the call between 36, 37, 38, and now.
It's just a left field idea. Yeah, exactly. You could,
Yeah.
the sensible one is what LR is saying. You could save it for 36, 37, 38 is always has that appeal. Like you get a
Yeah.
freebie table bonus.
Yep. Because the problem now again with this week, I don't like the run of fixtures you're getting. If let's say you activate your AM this week, now if you activate it this week, I think let's say you go on Emery, who are you going to jump onto the week after? There's nobody who has a good 2-week block of fixtures. Let's say 26 and 27. You go Arsenal, West Ham, then they have Forest the week after, right? The only team you can say who has 2 is Wolves and Brighton for Bournemouth. Pep has who? Let me have a look at. Pep has Liverpool and Tottenham.
Yeah. So Liverpool is the
More
bonus
tough
game.
games. No, Liverpool is not the bonus game for sure. It depends on what happens against Newcastle.
Yeah,
have
so
to
if Liverpool is the bonus game, then you don't mind taking that shot, is what I'm saying.
Right, but it's a shot in the dark as of now. If you have to activate it, and that's the main problem. You're effectively going to be using a transfer, I think, in 26 and in 27. If you activate the AM now.
You very well could.
Yeah.
But people who got Moyes are also using 2 free transfers.
Yeah.
So you almost have to. This whole assistant manager chip, I feel like 1 hit or 2 comes with the package. You will have to account for it somehow.
Yeah, but just talking around more with you guys, I think like again, because 36 the way I'm planning to use my chip is a triple captaincy, it's a small double. The opportunity cost seems low. I think you save the AM for 36.
100%.
Rather than use it now. The more I'm thinking about it.
It's just whether people. Also, let's just not. Like Emery, Ipswich at home and Liverpool at home is a good shot to take. It's not a bad shot, especially at home. Like if you can pull out the home fixtures for home.
One second, I have it for Villa here.
Yeah, it's in the images you mailed as well.
There you go.
So Villa have lost just 1 game at home this season. Like Emery's done really well. A lot of tight results. Like there was a 2-1 win against City. Freeman said that even the 0-2 loss against Arsenal wasn't an easy win for Arsenal.
So Rhea made those 2 crazy saves. I remember that very well early on.
So they have had good results all season. So Villa at home are always worth their wait and salt, even though they've been a bit dodgy all year. It's just that Emery is a tactical guy who will set up in a particular way when he's playing against a Liverpool. So it's a shot worth taking.
Let's talk about the Villa pick since we are in this section now. I think in defense, I think we're all agreeing. Don't go there.
Yep.
Just keep that shot.
Unless it's Martinez. But
Martinez again. They don't keep clean sheets, man. They always concede the odd goal. Defensive injuries is hard to really advocate over there. But in midfield, it's a bit interesting now for somebody who doesn't have Rodgers, and we should mention that he is on 8 yellow cards. Do you even buy him? You spend a transfer there because if you look at the Bournemouth mids over the longer period, or let's say 5 weeks, they have the same number of fixtures as Villa do. And they play Southampton this week. Should you go for a Kluivert or should you go for a Rodgers? I think from what I'm seeing from Bournemouth, my answer would be just go for that midfielder directly because once you buy, I think Rodgers, especially you're planning to ride him through through 29. It's a transfer in and a transfer out. Pras?
Yeah, I'm with you. Spoiler alert, I've already done it. I went straight to the Bournemouth guy. Now, people will basically, I saw some comments, people saying, you guys all piled in on Everton like idiots last week, right? And why did you do that? There are major differences on why people went for Everton picks and why maybe you don't need to jump into the Villa picks. The first one is the one you said. If you buy them, you have to also transfer them out. With Everton picks, you bought them, you bench them, you play them in the blank, and then you wildcard them out. So there is you're only spending 1 transfer in buying them. Second was price, right? People are actually getting Everton picks as enablers to basically fund other moves. So it actually made sense. And then the third one is opportunity cost. Last week, there was no real competitor to Everton in terms of defense that you can have for long term that can take you through 29. This week, Bournemouth is your opportunity cost. Bournemouth are playing Southampton, man. And so what you're saying is, okay, Rodgers will play Ipswich. I think equally good fixture. You can argue whether a Bournemouth midfielder is better than Rodgers. I'm not going to take sides on that. But let's say they're similar. The next game for Rodgers is a Liverpool game. So of course, Rodgers is expected to score more points because he'll get 2 more appearance points. And he has the opportunity of 1 more dart throw. Maybe he gets a goal against Liverpool. So of course, Rodgers should score more goals. But because when you factor in a second transfer and the fact that there's an opportunity cost with just going straight to a Bournemouth mid, I think people who don't have and they know that they're not free hitting in 29, they can think of just swerving him and going straight to Bournemouth.
LR, you did a piece now on the Bournemouth bids. Where are you on this Rodgers versus going direct there?
We'll discuss the Bournemouth myths later, but I just want to say that I don't have a route to Rodgers at the moment, and I'm very scared. Genuinely, watching Rodgers in the last 2-3 weeks, it seems like a player who's hitting his personal peak in a season. Like, he is playing insanely well. Like, he's playing so well. Like, he was amazing in the cup games as well. Got a goal and an assist. He not long ago had a hat trick against Celtic as well. His home record is really good. 14 games in the Premier League, 6 goals and 4 assists. So that's 0.7 returns a game. Really good, and he's hitting a good moment in my opinion. And I think he's almost better when he plays with Marlon, because Marlon tends to be a little drifty, which opens up space for him centrally. And if he's supported by Asensio and Ramsey, who's in good form as well, and Rashford, these are good players. So I don't have a route to him. And it's a subjective decision in terms of whether you want to go for Bournemouth mid or Rodgers. And I think it comes down to team health again. Like, if you have enough attackers who are playable, because you will maybe have to bench Rodgers for a couple of weeks, and then he's not playable in 29, so it depends on your free strategy, etc. But I do want to say that he's in a really good moment form-wise. Like, I am scared of Rodgers. Like, I won't be surprised to see 2 or 3 returns in the double game week, but even your Bournemouth mid is capable of that against Southampton because it's a juicy fixture. So if your team is in a bad position for 29, and if you're targeting that, then go Bournemouth mid. If your team is fine for 29 or you're free hitting in 29, go Rodgers.
Spot on. And he looked good.
Watkins is the one.
Watkins is the one, right? We all would have pretty much piled in there, because again, I think it is an opportunity to go against Isak for the fixture run that is coming up. But again, you need nailed, consistent Watkins for that, and I'm not sure we will have that. They have to.
If you could get to Isak, if you get to Watkins without selling Isak, would you be more tempted?
I'd have to sell Chris Wood, man.
Some of us already did it. So
Yeah, that was a glorious moment, though. Finally, the only one to own Wood on the podcast, and the explosion came. That was glorious.
Yeah. I do want to say that, like, whether it's Isak or Watkins, because Isak's fixtures are not great either. But again, he was a monster against Saliba and Gabriel in the Carabao Cup. He was so good. Like,
incredible.
The thing is that, like, Newcastle's fixtures are all right as well. You know, they've got City, which is actually a really good fixture because of the errors and the chances they've been conceded. After that, it's got 2 of the best defenses, Forest and Liverpool. So it's not like Isak has had. What's making us think about this transfer more than we would have otherwise is because Isak has poor fixtures after City. City is the good fixture. Then they've got Forest and Liverpool, which are tough, 2 of the toughest defenses you will face this season. And like Pras rightly pointed out, by the time 29 comes around, you will want to target Haaland anyway, because he plays Leicester, and if you're not free hitting, the free hitters are going to get Haaland, and you will want to set up place. So you don't mind a placeholder for an expensive forward, because eventually, whether it's Haaland, Isak or Watkins, you will probably want to upgrade to Haaland through a trend downgrade at that point in terms of macro squad structure. So it's not like you're going to necessarily hold on to Isak for a long time anyway. So think about that if it helps your decision making.
The fixtures are good, though, and you will want him back at some point. Again, there's a value loss, etc. I think you have to consider there.
Oh, 100%. Isak is going to be in your team till the end of the season. I mean, you may lose value in 29. But he has the double-double.
Yeah. The value loss is a great point. But again, like Zoph, it's 0.7 value versus getting a captaincy option like Haaland in 1 week. Like, that's the...
Absolutely. Points over value any day of the week.
Yeah. So so these are the factors that will help you in your decision making, because it's the Forest and the Liverpool game after City. City is a good game. Like, Isak against City could probably beat Watkins if you're getting like 100 minutes of Watkins a double. So it comes down to Watkins' fitness. And like you see in the chart here, look at the big chances in all the Villa home games. He's double that of Duran and 4 times that of Rodgers. He hawks the big chances at home, especially when it comes to Aston Villa. So that's that. And, Asensio and Rashford are 2 decent players added to the supportive, creative cast around him at the moment.
Yeah. Spurs made them look good, obviously, but I thought the dynamic there with those 2 players thrown in, it looked very fluid.
Yeah.
Let's talk Bournemouth mids.
Are we done with the double in terms of general picks?
Is there anything else to discuss? I'm happy to spend more time if we have to.
Just one thing I want to say is that if you guys look like Trent is injured, like for you guys, I don't mind a straight downgrade to Van Dijk because Wolves just concede the most number of set pieces all season. So there is that sort of opportunity there as well. So, if Trent's fitness looks dodgy for the weekend, just keep a downgrade to Van Dijk as an option.
I think I'll just go Kirkis.
Yeah.
Like the same logic where I feel like Kirkis has great upside against Southampton, good fixtures until 29, works till
I
wildcard.
agree.
And the main reason is Haaland, money.
Yeah, you need money. You're
Yeah.
going to downgrade Trent at some point anyway.
Yeah. Good shout.
Let's talk about some of the Bournemouth mids numbers we have up over here. Semenyo, Kluivert and Utara we are looking at. In terms of goals, obviously Kluivert has the edge and the data is actually quite strange in terms of general goal attempts. Obviously Semenyo and Kluivert are a lot better. Utara is actually one of the lowest over there, but he's got the highest proportion of big chances. Sort of 7 attempts in the box, 5 of those has been big chances, which is natural when you are playing centre forward. Shots on target are again quite similar. This is the actual returns what we've seen so far. 4 appearances for each, 5 for goals for Kluivert, 3 for Utara, couple for Semenyo. Assists, Kluivert has the edge, I think just 2. XG non-pen now, Semenyo has actually got surprisingly the lowest despite having one of the highest shot volume. Kluivert and Utara are about the same. XG numbers will obviously be better for Kluivert. He is the penalty taker in that sense, but I think and this is what Ivan mentioned to us in the chat, LR, it's a bit like your McAllister, March and Mitoma from a couple of years ago. There's no real wrong answer. It just depends a bit on your play style, and I think you can even look to get in 2 over the weeks to come, given that they have Brentford, I think, at home in game week 29. But while writing this article, what caught your eye?
A couple of things caught my eye. First of all, I pulled out data for the last 4 game weeks because it's the last 4 game weeks where they've been playing Utara up front, Semenyo on the left, Kluivert central, and Brooks on the right. So that's the formation they've been using, which is where you see that Utara has the highest big chances and highest XG per shot. Semenyo, as always, has been the high volume shooter. So has Kluivert. What's happened is Kluivert's 2 shots from outside the box, because he's in a good moment, have gone inside the back of the net. Semenyo actually hit the bar once or twice as well. So Semenyo has a higher volume, but that's countered by Kluivert's penalties and Kluivert's taking corners from one side. And penalties for a team like Bournemouth matters more than a team like Everton, for example, because Bournemouth have won the most number of penalties along with Liverpool this season. They've got many pacey dribbly wingers, so you would expect that over a period of 6 or 7 weeks through which you're holding these Bournemouth mids, you're going to win probably a penalty or 2. So that's 1 or 2 free extra goals you sort of win when a team wins a high percentage of penalties. So that's the thing. But over a longer duration, Semenyo's expected data was higher because he's such a high volume shooter. And he was outstanding in the cup game as well. He looked, even against Liverpool in the league game, he was their best player. Like in real life, he's the best player as well. So it's a bit of pick your player and stick with it. But I have no problems if somebody goes Semenyo. Absolutely. But my ranking, because of all the factors, because of penalties, the thing is now, even though there's Jebison's threat and there is Tavernier threat, I'm not too worried about minutes for these 4. They are the nailed on front 4, and you will see some 70th minute, 75th minutes up. But while Kluivert is in his form that he is, his minutes have gone up from 65, which was an average, 65-70 to 85-90. And because of this and because of pens, I will say Kluivert number 1, Utara number 2, and Semenyo number 3. But if you go any, I have no comms against it.
We should mention that Semenyo took the penalty against Everton when Kluivert wasn't on the pitch. So in terms of pecking order, I think he is there as well. But Pras, now LR and I already committed with Kluivert. I know that you're considering Utara. Is it a money thing?
I just like him playing up top, man. In fact, last pod we talked about, which was 2 weeks ago, I had said, we're going to monitor. We'll see if they sign anybody. They sign nobody. Utara's going to play striker, man, the whole time. He's a midfielder. He plays 90 minutes pretty much most games because his stamina is good. So I just went for the guy who I think will score goals. I think of course, money comes into it. But, for example, I sold Saar. I could have gone Kluivert or Utara. For the moment, I've picked Utara for money reasons. I would say they're all similar. So I don't have anything more to add actually from what LR said.
It's just note that whether you'll need money in the future, And if you don't, then go. If you need the money in the future, then go Utara, because there's not much between them. So the saving could come handy in the future.
Yep. But in terms of rankings, I'm with you, Ella. And I think if I was investing afresh, I would still prefer the penalty taker in that sense.
One quote after the FA Cup on Semenyo was basically he's going to, for the foreseeable, play on the left, which is different from early season where he was playing on the right. He tends to cut back. He tends to cut in and shoot a lot from the right because he's left-footed. On the left, he may cross more. So maybe it increases his XA, reduces his shot volume, and then who else is taking the shots? The other guys. So it's slightly, for me, him playing on the left is actually, I think maybe it's just bias, better for Kluivert and for Ouattara, because he will do less pop shots. But I agree with you all. Like, they're all similar.
Yeah, he cited the partnership with Kirkas.
Exactly.
Those two.
Yep. Like you mentioned, the shots you see from Ouattara, they're very central and very close to the 6-yard box over here. Which Semenyo, naturally, see he's been playing on the left a lot more. So the shots are from wider, little bit low XG, but sheer volume. With Kluivert, he's been playing at the number 10 role with Tavernier out. Now, he might be shifted to the right or to the left when Tavernier comes back into the team, but a lot of shots from central. And the thing is, from what I've noticed from watching Bournemouth, that's the money position. The centre forward does get chances, but because of the way they press and how hard that guy works, he's often dragging the centre backs out of position to vacate space for the arriving wingers in number 10s. So that's something.
That yellow for Kluivert, man.
Yeah, that chance.
I have no idea.
How did he?
That was frustrating too.
Especially for you as a Moyes backer, right? Because for me, at least, I'm like, okay, fine, I'm getting clean sheet points over there. And it was even when Trent had been subbed off, which made it even more frustrating.
Yeah, and it was 1-0 still then. It wasn't 2-0, so it could have been an in the game, I think.
Oh, yeah.
For Bournemouth.
It could have been a big swing over there. Like you mentioned, this is the data from earlier on, 6-16, in which time, you do see Semenyo significantly ahead. Kluivert wasn't really getting that many appearances at that point of time, so I don't know how much we can take from this data, really. It's a different dynamic now.
Right, so we've done a fair bit on chip strategy and blanks in 29, 33, 37, and as always the endeavor for us is to arm you with as much information as we possibly can, so that it enables you to make some well-informed decisions. Even when the news broke out last Friday, we did the pod immediately and put a few tables together to assist you with your assistant manager decision, and we're still far away from our 40,000 subscriber goal at the end of the season. So we're at 36,050 at the moment. If we could get a little nudge, a little push, and get it to 36,500 in a couple of weeks, we'd really, really be grateful, and thank you for that.
Appreciate it, guys. And also for our Discord members, with all this AM stuff and questions, we will likely be doing either a hangout or one of the members stream like you doing earlier in the season tomorrow. I'll let you guys know in the Discord for that.
Thursday.
Tomorrow. Sorry, it's not tomorrow, of course, Thursday. I keep forgetting we're doing it on Tuesday this time. Right. Let's talk.
Semenyo is two-footed. A lot of people in the chat are very upset. Yes, Semenyo is two-footed. He's still great.
Any other results particularly you want to look back from last weekend? Not even, was it last? No, the weekend previous now. 2 weekends ago.
I just want to shout out Wolves. I think their form has improved in the last 2 or 3 games. I don't think they are the walkover fixture that people presume them to be, especially because now they bought 2 centre backs. So it's no longer Bruno and Doherty, 2 wing backs playing as centre backs. And they've looked good. And Cunha's again signed that contract, so there is no distraction, etc. as well. So he seems focused again. Was a great performance. So just watch out for Wolves. There's somebody who we could be looking at in a couple of weeks to purchase as well, because the fixtures do turn better. So just keep
Your
an eye
favorite
out.
Striker, both of you.
Yeah. I missed out on Cunha then.
Man. Yeah, we're both waiting to buy Cunha.
I missed out on Cunha, then I missed out on Wood. So I'm waiting, jumping at the opportunity to just get Cunha back in my team.
I think game week 28, because again, game week 29 is what we are looking at, in terms of potential captaincy options. If you don't have Haaland over there, you're likely going to go Bournemouth, maybe Leicester, maybe like a Wolves player.
Yeah.
You guys don't appreciate my jokes.
I'm trying to control Zoph.
Yeah, that's about it. Let's just do our sleeper plug, then we'll do our bus teams.
Yep. So on our sleeper league, we've kicked off February, but of course, you can still, by the way, if you join, you can still pick the Liverpool-Everton result, which we know Liverpool's going to win. So you can still do that. And so you can join the league and you will be part of the February and beyond competition. So to download the Sleeper app, basically you need to click the QR code on the top right. And it's more than just the competitions, right? I mean, we're doing content. We're putting out something tomorrow on what we learned over the FA Cup weekend. So it's going to be some organic football content that we do. LR had a video last week, I remember, on 5 things we learned. So if you want to check that out, to download the app, it's the top right. And then the bottom right is basically the Pick'em League that I'm talking about. That's the public league. You can also join our Discord league, and that has prizes. We've just shipped out some 5 more jerseys for December and January. So thank you to Karan and ULR for sorting that out. And if you want to take part, the top 3 every single month get a Premier League jersey of their choice. To do that, you need to be a Patreon on patreon.com/the FPL Wire, or you can become a YouTube member.
Cool. Let's do our draft teams. This is right now. Plus, I want to talk to you about Joao Pedro. Where are we on him right now? I'm losing patience.
Pedro and Bruno are ruining my season right in front of my eyes, and I can't help it.
Have we finally come to the acceptance phase now?
Look, Pedro got dropped against Chelsea.
That's
so
actually more worrying. That's
accept.
what I wanted to talk about. That and Rutter played quite well. Rutter was MOTM.
He's not going to start on Friday. Like, if you've just beaten a team with your 11, you're not going to change that. So he's not going to start on Friday. Yeah, I accept defeat.
Because I was thinking of actually rotating out Rodgers the week after for like when Joao Pedro plays Southampton. And that was a fixture I was really targeting, but I'm concerned about that now. I don't think he's going to necessarily start the Southampton fixture. Moving him on to Cunha is something I have in mind over the coming weeks. But my team, let's talk about that first. Pickford, Trent, Gabriel, Robinson, Bumo, Salah, Cap, Palmer, Rodgers, Kluivert, Wood and Isak with Joao Pedro, Mikalenko and Greaves on the bench. Got some money in the bank, but I don't think this really needs a transfer in any way. I can't go from like Wood to Watkins direct or Joao Pedro to anyone I really want. So I think this is a safe transfer for me.
No Isak to Watkins temptation?
No. Not really.
I do want to shout out a player though, just while we're here, because if Watkins, let's say, has some sort of injury issue or something, I think Marlon at 5.5 million midfielder is a very, very interesting punt because he will play striker. So, but that requires Watkins to have some sort of injury. So just keep that in mind while we're having this podcast discussion.
Any move you see, Pras?
I think it's an easy save. Like, you'll have more things to do next week. You have Rodgers in place, man. So, like, a lot of people are trying to get to this midfield that you have at the moment. So, I think it's fine. If Trent is out, what will you do?
Like you said, the Kirkes move.
Okay. But not use the Kirkes money.
Pardon?
But not use the Kirkes money,
not
take
this
a
week.
hit.
I'd probably take the move for like, let's do Pedro to Cunha the week after, something like that.
Like a third Liverpool isn't on your agenda then? Like if you could get like a Gakpo?
No, I don't think so. It's just too many transfers I have to get. And then Gakpo, again, the fixtures turn, rotation. I'm not even convinced Gakpo is going to play necessarily all these games now over the next few weeks. It's a lot of fixtures.
You should think about it because it's still Liverpool. It's still the best team in the league having a double. So like if you find a way for a couple of games, like, you know, you're saving your transfers also for dealing with blanks and doubles, but there is a double at the moment. Points are in front of you with a Liverpool double. So just think about that just in case Trent's injured.
He'll have a benching issue is the thing, I think. Like if you did Trent to Kirkes and Joao Pedro to Gakpo, who will you bench?
Yeah, I'll have to bench Bumo. Or Isak or Wood, something like that. You have to bench a good player. Pretty much. And I think this whole discussion about Trent, it just feels at this stage, obviously, a lot more to come. Feels academic when we know that he is training.
He's training. Yeah.
So I don't expect him to start this weekend at least.
How much money in the bank do you have, Zoph?
I think decent amount of change. I think 1.8, something like that. I'm about 0.5, 0.6 short of Watkins. I remember that, Wood to Watkins.
You wouldn't be tempted to go directly Wood. Okay, how much short of Wood to Watkins?
0.6.
Because that would tempt me as a move. Like take the points and go.
I don't know, man. Wood is my kind of player.
He is. Yeah. But
It's fun owning.
all right, that's my team. Pickford, Trent, Gabriel, Munoz, Salah, Palmer, Kluivert, Bumo, Wissa, Gakpo, Isak. Ahmad's first bench, but I'm very, very likely to push in Ahmad and bench Wissa. Just got a feeling about Ahmad against Spurs. So it's a very close decision between the two. Actually, the underlying data between the two, Ahmad's 3.5 XGI last 6, Wissa's 4.5 XGI last 6. I don't know. What's your read of Potter and West Ham?
Yep,
In
we
general.
should talk about that because I thought they were quite tight against Chelsea. They're not like the free-flowing. You usually expect Potter's team to be a little bit leaky, but they set a very deep block. Now, was that a game plan against Stamford Bridge? There's this whole history with Potter and Chelsea. Maybe he just didn't want to lose that game, but they're definitely a lot tighter than they were under the previous manager. And Spurs are still Spurs, man. I think I would play Ahmad over Wissa because you are hedged up there with Bumo as well.
Yeah. And I just got a feeling he tends to do well in these bigger games, Ahmad. More so than against middling or poor opposition. That's why I'm tempted. And a shout out to Baker, who was telling us that now this pragmatic Spurs that you see has essentially been the wingbacks playing as wingbacks and not pushing up and inverting as front as much. But he's expecting them to revert to type, which would open up space for Ahmad if they're inverting again. So he just did mention this because I spoke to him about this benching dilemma. Where are you, Pras? Ahmad or Wissa? Who would you play?
Spurs are not a big team. So I would evaluate it as an easy away fixture, and so
Yeah.
I would. But then Wissa gets a lot of big chances.
A lot of
it's
big
very
chances.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, right?
There's not as much
And-
away from home. There is a big disparity on his data away and home. If this was at home, I'd say a closer decision, but here I think I'd back Ahmad.
But when Man United are so bad, man, like
That's true. You guys
even
know
against
better.
Leicester, like the team we're talking about, right? That got smashed in the league. We were saying they were so bad. Did you watch the game? Did you watch the FA Cup game?
I did. But I just think we like a game like Spurs, where the people play open-ended football. I think we like a game like that. So I've just got a feeling with Ahmad. I can't shake it off. So I'll probably put in Ahmad for Wissa. That this is Tuesday. Let's see where we are on Saturday. And I've got enough money in the bank for Moyes to Emery. So that's going to be a likely move. And I could still do Isak to Watkins. I'm open to that. I'm not completely shut to that because I have to play aggressive. So I'm open to that. If Trent looks dodgy, I'm open to the slot move as well. So 70% I'm likely going to do Moyes to Emery at the moment.
If Watkins was remotely a captaincy shout, I would be a lot more tempted by the move. That's what it is.
Yeah, and it would be for a hit because I have one free transfer only. I've actually made 7 transfers in the last 2 weeks, and the hit paid off because thanks to Pras and Baker, both suggestion, they told me to consider doing Raya to Pickford for a hit as well as Robinson to Mykolenko for a hit. And with the clean, it's paid for itself with 2 extra players for 29. So I feel like I'm in a decent position to save the free hit chip in 29. I don't really need transfers because I've got enough players from Bournemouth
If you
and
get
Brentford in
Watkins, it
place.
could get a bit messy though, because then you have your 3 Liverpool, Munoz, Watkins, and O'Shea, who's a bit rubbish as well.
But you'll have 3 more transfers, 4 more transfers.
Because
If you use one of them on
next week he
assistant
plans to
manager,
use it.
so then you still have 3 more.
Yeah.
But still, you're sort of fighting fires a little bit then. That's why my point, the Watkins thing for him is sort of like...
Yeah, but it's basically objectively Isak also is blanking in 29. So it's objectively Isak plus 4 points plus Isak versus City, Liverpool and Forest versus Watkins. 2 games this week. Relatively easier fixtures in the next 2. That's the weighing up.
I guess you can look at it also because once you sell Isak, that money becomes mobile. Because another problem a lot of us are going to have in 29 is we won't have a lot of money to spend. Let's say you're going to be benching a Trent, Salah and an Isak. There are very few players you can get to then. So if you go to Watkins and you mobilize that money, you are opening up the Haaland possibility in 29.
I'm calling it now. You're not thinking about it right now, but the team that you need to scout in the next 5 weeks is City. And you're going to have to eat the value drop on 1 or 2 picks. It's just how it's going to be. Because if not, what do you call Haaland? You're going to look at Marmoush is cheaper. You're going to look at Foden. These players are going to come into your realm of consideration when you come closer to 29, when you see the fixtures for City around that. Because City are going to be in play 29 onwards. So it's fine. You have to eat a drop on a few players. That's where I am.
Especially if they go out, right? I think the Madrid thing with that has a big significance as well.
Yep.
All the focus will be on the league then.
And Diaz is back. I think Ruben Diaz is also back. So, him being back in that backline also helps City in general.
Guardiola, Haaland will be wildcard template.
Yeah,
Wildcard 31
100%.
template.
Exactly. So and that means you will need to eat value drops on some of these players that you have
100%.
value attached to right now.
Truth. Press your team.
So actually, our defenses look quite similar. Pickford, Gabriel, Munoz, and Trent.
I've got
and,
Robinson instead of Munoz. That's pretty
Right.
much it.
No, mine and Pras is the
Yeah,
same.
exactly.
So, and in fact, midfields as well, apart from Bruno, a lot of people. So I have done Sar to Otara. After Bournemouth played, basically, it was clear that Sar, in fact, last night he was even ill. So I'm feeling even better about it, that I don't know what's going on with him, with his hamstring or whatever. And he's about to drop. He's not dropped yet, but he's about to. So I think the 4 guys in midfield are fine, except Bruno. We'll talk about Bruno, which is not what they did in Encanto, but let's move on. And so then Isak and Joao Pedro. So then I have a problem as my second striker as well. I could play Ndai. I don't think Joao Pedro is going to start. So I have already made one transfer, but for -8, I can do Bruno to Kluivert or Rodgers and Joao Pedro to Watkins. So that's what I'm thinking. So, but I will need to know that Watkins is fit for sure to do that.
How much money do you have in the bank?
Right now, like 1.2. So I can't do Joao Pedro to anyone else who I want for 29.
No, you can't even go Wood, can you? Because Wood is also around 7-ish.
In that case, I'll leave it. Like if I can't do the -8, I'll just save a transfer. I'll play Ndai or something. It's one position. You can't solve every slot every week. So that's the thinking. Because next week I plan to save, and I plan to not save but use my transfer on slot to whoever. So I'm now thinking for 2 weeks, who do I want? Do I want this problem of Joao Pedro and Ndai, or do I just take the hit and get rid of it? The problem with Bruno is his fixture this week is fine. His fixtures leading up to 29 are fine. But my main issue now is I can't trust to captain him. Like we've just played Leicester. Now in 29, I can't captain him, even though he's playing Leicester. He could play in that, like he's still getting assists, right? In the cup games, and it's a bit like Rodgers. He scores in the Europa League, he assists in the cup games. In the league, you're not seeing much. So I'm okay to hold him. I'm not saying he's a complete disaster. I would not tell anybody to buy him. But I'm just saying I can also look at it as I get Kluivert, who I want. That midfield of the 5 that I will have, double Bournemouth mid, Salah, Palmer, Bumo is great for Gameweek 29. And then Watkins and Isak looks great. So I could do it.
Joao Pedro is a problem for you, Pras, because again, like let's say he doesn't start this weekend, they get a decent result against Chelsea, against Southampton, you have a problem, and you won't have a transfer the week after again, right?
That's what I mean.
Who are the options below 7 you are considering as of now? Who are even the forward? Let's just have a quick look.
I'll leave it. I'll play Ndai. Yeah. Like I'm not going to use a transfer just to do Joao Pedro to somebody who I don't like.
There is somebody who you could consider. I don't think the options are
Could be
slim.
Cunha.
And who might emerge is Mamouche.
Yes. No, I can't get to 7. But next week, if I downgrade slot to somebody, I could still, let's say if I'm not going for Pep or Arteta, I could also release funds.
You're going to
next
basically get a lot of funds released from slot. Exactly. For getting that. 1.5 million is tied up over there.
My plan is actually to sell Salah in 29, not Isak. Because I don't think Salah will be in everybody's team from game week 31 to 38. Now, he could stay in many phases, but in some part, somebody will have to sell Salah. I think Isak will be in everyone's team from 31 to 38. So I actually, if I have to keep value in somebody, I would rather keep it on Isak than on Salah.
That's going to be a fun end to the season.
Yeah, in general,
I mean, I'll get him back on Wildcard, but I think I'm open to selling him later as well.
Why would you even get him back on Wildcard with no doubles? You could potentially risk running without him as well.
You could. Depends when you Wildcard, right? The closer you Wildcard to 33, the more you can go without him. The closer you Wildcard sort of close to 30, you want his fixture home to Everton as well.
32, yeah.
So I'm open to it. All I'm saying is right now, I'm thinking Isak is more essential. People can sell him as well. 0.5 at the end of the season doesn't matter, man. Like the Bournemouth mids are ridiculously cheap, and they will be on Wildcard because they're going to double on 33. You will be bench boosting with an Otara and a Kluivert, which is already ridiculously cheap. Man United might double. You have some cheap assets from Man United. You could have an Ahmad. Like it's ridiculously cheap value. Bench boost 33 is going to be very easy to sort of structure.
Oh, just look at Ndai's fixtures. I think after Palace next week he has Manchester United at home. You could essentially play him over Joao Pedro the next 2 weeks. And like you mentioned, wait for your funds to free up from slot and then potentially move to Cunha, because Cunha this week has Liverpool away.
Correct.
So might as well punt on Ndai then.
That's
He's
exactly
a penalty
the
taker after all.
So either it's going to be a save or it's going to be a -8. Nothing in between.
I get it. Let's do some of the super chats we have received. First up from Johan Matai. Bench 1, Isak, Wood, Mateta, Clivert, Bumo, and Palmer.
Oh, bloody hell. Palmer should not be in this equation.
What's the question again?
Bench
Bench
one.
1 of Isak, Wood, Mateta, Clivert, Bumo, Palmer. Are they all penalty takers? There are 6 penalty takers. Yep, each one is a penalty taker. Oh my God.
No, not Isak, not Palmer.
I would say Wood, man. But Mateta has Everton at home. They've been pretty much better, but his data is really good.
Yeah, Wood.
Who does Palmer play? Palmer's Brighton away.
Hey, 4 returns, man. I can't remember. I can't forget this game.
Of course, I know you can't. But again, we have not looked great. But I'm not suggesting he bench Palmer. I think it would be Wood, man. Fulham was the top 3 for XGC, top 4. In terms of
while you guys have not looked great, y'all are second for XG in the last 6 matches in the league.
Palmer is doing fine. I don't know where this whole Palmer not playing Palmer.
Yeah.
He's got double-digit returns in 2 out of 5 games.
Yeah.
Every game he's been unlucky not to both games he could have had that goal, which was an unlucky own goal or something, and I think he got an assist.
Highest for XG underperformance. It's a lot of not finishing the dinner for Chelsea.
Yep. Are we agreeing on Wood?
Yeah.
Next one from Yogesh. 1 free transfer. Isak to Watkins, Anilanga to Semenyo or Odem. Man, I can't read this. To Bumo and Die. Bro, you got to type the entire names, man, the next time. I think Isak to Watkins, we're not really a fan of. I think I like Elanga to one of the Bournemouth mids.
Yep. But that can be done without the Isak to Watkins thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Sell Elanga.
Next one from Rob. Bench 1 of Gordon, Wood, or Wissa. Gordon probably?
No.
Or
No,
Wissa?
not against City, man.
Money fixture.
Wissa maybe.
Wissa Wood.
Probably.
Yeah.
Last one from Harshal. Bench 1 of Semenyo, Palmer, Bumo, Gakpo, Mateta, Isak. Obviously not
Good. Gakpo is a double game week. Come on, man.
Yeah, not Semenyo. Yeah, Southampton, Palmer, Bumo, Gakpo, Mateta, Isak. This is even harder than the last one.
Bumo or Mateta?
Yep.
Bumo.
Probably. I thought West Ham were quite decent defensively. Brentford away, etc., etc.
Just wait for Gordon team news. Aranya makes a good point that he has a thigh strain. So just know about that. But it's a money fixture. And they are playing one less attacker. So it's now 2 forwards. In terms of, did you see the formation against
But that's Arsenal,
Arsenal?
man. No, that's I would say very team specific, game specific.
Yes, but Joe Linton is injured. And Eddie Howe was asked about whether he plans to use this in the future. And he said in certain big games, he could consider using it. And I see City as a similar sort of level of opposition in terms of how he sets up. So just wanted to add that.
I think Newcastle will give them a good game. Man City are focused on Real Madrid tonight. Newcastle are basically rested. They will play them and they do well against good teams. So, I mean, even though it's an away game, even if they lose, I can see a 2-1, 2-2, 3-2 kind of game. There are goals there. I would not be. The reasons for selling Isak we talked earlier in the pod. You could still do it because the fixtures after this are not great, but this fixture is good.
Yep.
It's the best one of the next 3. Cool. Let's wrap up, guys.
Cool, that's us. You have still 3 more videos coming from us. We'll probably do them during the course of the week, probably after the game tomorrow night. And until then, go on, Moyes.
That's going to be interesting either way, man. But Everton have improved a lot. I don't think this fixture is anywhere as easy as it was when it was postponed. So,
Yep.
I really think
Honestly,
anything could happen.
0-0 works for me. I'll take a 0-0 right now. Okay, you'll get the table bonus. I'll get my double clean sheet,
Yeah,
and Salah
yeah,
doesn't
that's-
score any more goals, and Gakpo doesn't score. So actually, I've thought about it. I'll take a 0-0. It's fine.
If it's
We can all agree on this.
I'm flying. I will.
Let's
I'll
hope
be
so.
happy with that.
Cool.
Yeah, man. We'll see where it goes. Yeah. Literally, so much is possible tomorrow. You don't even know what you're cheering for.
If Liverpool lose, I'm going to be very salty. I'm going to be in a very bad mood. But it is what it is.
Manchester United fans salty when Liverpool
Exactly.
lose.
You know what FPL has done to us, man? I've like that Spurs game. I was literally nervous that come on Liverpool, you need to reach the final, and I'm thinking, man, why the hell am I rooting for Liverpool? It's this bloody FPL chip that I hate.
Yep. Cheering against your son's player scoring a goal.
Exactly. Evil game, evil
That was a
chip.
classic moment. That was brilliant. On that note, thanks for joining us, guys. It's great to be back. Let's hope for a great game tomorrow and a good weekend. See you again soon. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.
Bye.
Hit like and subscribe.